How's it going, guys? Welcome back to Reventure. Today we're going to be doing endings 26 to 50. Sorry if people felt like I explained the first few a little too slowly last time. I was really trying to lay out the groundwork of the story, some of the mechanics of the game, hopefully make things a little easier to follow, so it gives enough context to make everything nice and simple moving forward. We don't have to do that this time, we can just get right into things. Should be able to rattle them off pretty quickly. By obtaining the sword, and the shovel, and the shield, continuing on to the mountain base to get the hook claw and the bombs. With all this gear, Tinku was ready for any challenge. Or so he was, until his legs finally collapsed under the enormous weight. His last words were, "I regret nothing." Greedy bastard, ending number 26. 6 months later. After months of medical care paid by selling all of his items, Tinku was ready again for adventure. After collapsing under all the weight of your gear, you now get to play in a version of yourself wrapped up in casts, bandages, and with a cane. Although you cannot actually use the cane in any way. Grab the sword first, as well as the hook claw. It just makes it much easier to have this bridge lowered. Now we're heading back to the west, through the Caves of Legend. When you're in the shop, you can see that there's a thing above your head here that is hook clawable, and you'll notice a few stray pixels in the center here that look a little bit off. This is a small little trap door above his shop here. And within that, we find the nuclear warhead. Now, with all this gear, we can hop on up, climb up into the roof, and load up the nuclear warhead in the cannon. After getting tired of the traditional adventurer tactics, Hermaninoff decided to take a more direct approach to destroying the Dark Lord. It was super effective. Little Pokemon reference. An Airstrike, ending 27. 2 months later, Hermaninoff couldn't rest knowing they had rebuilt the fortress in just a month. This time, he'd tackle the root of the problem. Now, in the farmlands, you can see that the nuclear warhead left a gigantic crater in the side of the mountain, and they instead built the fortress next to it. With the bombs in hand, a very obvious solution is to sit and wait it out next to our exploding bomb. Tinku was such a curious hero. That day he thought, what would happen if I stay close to this bomb while it explodes? Several burns and shrapnel fragments all over his body happened. Don't try this at home. Ending number 28. 2 days later. The painful shrapnel fragments in Tinku's skin really helped waking up early the next day. And here we play as the burnt up version of the character. Start by grabbing the shield, grab the shovel. We are digging our way down towards the dragon. When you return to certain areas like this, you'll actually see the burnt up body of your failed attempt laying in front of the dragon. Coming face to face to the dragon, ignoring our old burnt up corpse, Hermaninoff's shield blocked the dragon's flames, but was melted and pushed into his face, turning it into a beautiful but painful mask. The man in the steel mask. There's actually the man in the iron mask, is an old movie. Ending number 29. 6 days later. Hermaninoff managed to remove the iron mask using brute force. He also removed his eyes, but learned to feel his environment using his inner key. Let's go defeat evil. At which point you play this disgusting creature with loose eyeballs that flap around. When you're running, they kind of drag behind you, and you jump, they just flap around in the wind. It's pretty disgusting. Your unburdened jump will be high enough that you can make it up onto this ridge, opening up a whole new slew of possibilities as you go up through the trap door. Climbing up on top of the castle, you can go down through the chimney. Chuck jumped into the chimney, ready to share the spirit of Christmas and gift copies of Reventure. Everybody loved the game and left 11 out of 10 reviews on the Steam community page. Subliminal message, ending number 30. 2 months later. After receiving overwhelming reviews from everyone about his game, Chuck was filled with motivation and ready for a new quest. After which time you can play as the Santa character. Although you will still be referred to as whatever character you were at the time of unlocking Santa. Grab the sword first, grab the shovel, through the bone pit into the dragon's lair, we can now dig straight down instead of confronting the dragon and access this little raft. The raft will then carry us through to the geyser shaft. Be careful on these platforms, they will sink beneath you. You can crawl into the geyser itself, it'll scoop you up and blast you out into the sky. Past this cloud with seemingly an egg on top of it, but instead you'll just land in this small pool. If you reach the other side of the castle without actually going through the drawbridge will stay up. Alternately, as the drawbridge is bouncing as it's lowered, there is a small window where you can slip underneath it. This will drop you into the underground. Here you can slash your way through these bushes and end up in the barn. Please stop using the barn for dirty business. We stored our food in this place, you know? Lots of nice pots to be broken down here, which is always a good time. With all the food and storage spoiled, everyone in the kingdom starved to death. On the other hand, Disgusting Creature found an amazing hat inside one of the pots. Collateral damage. Ending number 31. 9 months later. Disgusting Creature woke up with a disturbing smile and his favorite hat next to his bed. Let's go find some adventure. Honestly, one of the simpler endings now that we're getting deeper into the game. Grab the sword, rather than exploding the boulder, stab it. Hermaninoff put Boulder in the hospital in agonizing pain. Her family spent days around her bed praying for her recovery. After defeating thousands of scissors, she'd never have expected to be defeated by a sword. You monster! Ending 32. 5 months later. No one looked at Hermaninoff the same way after what he did to that poor rock. Boulder was back at her job, but Hermaninoff would have to make amends with her. Venturing west of the top of Macro Mountain will take you out onto Dark Cliff, with a sign that reads, "Faith can give you wings." Jumping off of said cliff will send you plummeting down. Without hesitation, Lump jumped off the cliff. He knew he could make it if he had enough faith. But nope, he didn't have enough. Leap of Faith, a reference to Assassin's Creed, ending 33. 2 months later. After a video of his jump going viral, Lump had to stay at home for some time to avoid all that trolling by young millennials. This is one of multiple endings that will have you playing in bandages. After your leap of faith, the sign will change. If faith doesn't give you wings, try a chicken instead. Eventually, a new chest will appear off to the side here. Through here, you can get the compass. I believe this becomes available once you've discovered 1/3 or 33% of the available endings. Select your destiny from the hints menu. When you select an ending, a yellow X will appear beside it, and the compass will now put you on track whenever you stand still for how to achieve that particular ending. I'm obviously not collecting hints for every single ending. It would be incredibly difficult to make sure you're collecting hints in a way that you're finding more hints than you are endings, and that the endings you find are only ones that you have hints for. But there's commonly references tucked away into here as well. Number 50, Mortal Kombat. 51, Make the Kingdom Great Again. I just appreciate that there's never a missed opportunity for a joke or a pun somewhere in this game. Making our way to the Dark Hall and the Dark Elevator. If you call the elevator but immediately run off, you can hop into the pit below it. If you're reading this, you'll probably be dead soon. After a relatively short wait, the elevator is called back down by the princess and crushes you. What secrets would lie below that mysterious elevator? Well, at least a lesson. It's not a good idea to drop into the shaft. Negative first floor. Ending number 34. 3 days later. Who needs bones anyway? With a positive attitude, Hermaninoff managed to animate his disgusting body, now reduced to flesh and muscle. And we play as the Disgusting Creature, a floppy, loose, flappy bag of boneless skin. We're even referred to as Disgusting Creature, in case her self-esteem wasn't low enough. Dropping down from the abandoned bridge, falling straight down. Now, jumping our way across this little dissolvable area here, you can move through these pouring columns of magma. It's only the lakes you need to worry about. Dragon's Lair ventilation system, because every dragon needs a good oxygen supply to keep its flames at its best. Please do not obstruct with sneaky heroes. You can then, of course, climb in through the ventilation system, which will pop you out into the dragon's lair with its piles of gold. Hopping out across these sinking platforms, there is now a pipe which is very obviously a reference to Mario. When you enter this said pipe, you drop down into sludge. Tinku entered the pipe just to find a septic tank where he dissolved into the kingdom's toxic waste. Seriously, why would someone willingly go into a large sewer pipe? Wastewater. Ending number 35. 3 days later. Tinku crawled out of that sewer through his own house toilet. He had to work as a plumber the next few months to fix the pipes he broke during his expedition. You now get to play as a brown Mario-like character, although it will still by name refer to you as the previous character you were playing as. I like the added detail of the hat bouncing around on his head when you run. We head straight through the caves of legend over to the Zhu volcano. You can jump down this little pillar. As we descend down, there is a room off to the side with a chest that we've probably seen repeatedly when fetching the shovel, inside of which is the lava trinket. You can descend deeper into the volcano. With the lava trinket, if you jump into the magma, you are expelled as kind of a molten cookie, and you're actually fine. As you exit through the right-hand side of the mountain, there's a button here that will extend the bridge. We don't need that right now. Instead, we can drop down below. We can make our way through this secret little window down through the ventilation system. This will drop us down into the dragon's lair. When we face off against him this particular time, the lava trinket repelled the dragon's flames, but not his claws. Fireproof. Ending number 36. 6 months later. Only tiny bits of Hermaninoff were found after his encounter with the dragon, so his twin brother decided to take over the family business. At which point our name changes to Hermaninoff's brother. This is one of those ones where it will tag on brother to whoever you were playing as previously. After first acquiring Mr. Hugs, it's about time we patch things up with the shopkeeper. I've looked down that rifle enough times as is. Pavlov entered the shop with a disturbing look and jumped over the table right into the shopkeeper. He grabbed his neck until it snapped. Then he established a free hugs shop so he could express his complex emotions with any customers. Free hugs, ending 37. 3 weeks later. Pavlov was getting tired of hugging everyone and decided to make a turn in his life. Time for a new adventure. If we choose to bypass everything and not collect any items, it frees up the possibility for us to ascend the mountain. Once we've hopped our way to the top and across, off the dark cliff you can start working your way down along the side here, eventually dropping you down into this little outcrop. To the left we have the sealed chamber. This can also be accessed via the Great Waterfall. I'll try to show that one off in a different attempt. Only one of the signposts in this chamber lies. The chest on the left contains something perishable, the one on the right contains something dark. If we flick the middle lever, it lowers a few of the platforms. This wasn't the right lever. So either this was the correct lever, this sign is lying, and this will have something perishable, and this will have something dark, or this sign is lying, and they contain something other than they claim to. You can climb down below where this platform was lowered. The legendary burger of yumminess, source of many calories, was sealed in this chamber to keep it away from our diet. The answer to the chamber above is not to try again, but to stick and focus on your choice. The legendary dark stone, source of the darkest of darknesses, was sealed in this chamber to keep it away from our dark enemies. If you flick the lever on the far left, these spike traps come in. Hermaninoff's brother couldn't resist the smell of a delicious burger inside that chest, even while the spike traps on the sides of the room sent a pretty obvious message. Oh boy, I'm so hungry. Ending 38. 2 months later. Those spikes filled the hole in Hermaninoff's stomach, but not his hunger for adventure. And as we've seen before, we play as the character filled with spikes. The bombs will be placed whenever you're near a big boulder like this. Beyond said boulder is the mossy cave. with a seemingly very large chest inside. As he looked inside the big chest, Tinku tripped and ended up locked inside. He eventually suffocated to death. Oh, the chest was empty. Well, not anymore. Everything is Terrible, ending number 39. With the dead, blue, crying Tinku inside of the chest and the title Everything is Terrible, we have several different references to the Binding of Isaac series. 3 days later. Did Tinku suffocate to death? Yes. Was that enough to stop him from adventuring ever again? Probably. Could we ignore this plot hole and just keep adventuring? Of course we can. Now we can play as what is essentially Blue Baby from the Binding of Isaac. After first acquiring Mr. Hugs, after being ignored for so long, it's time we hug the Elder. Queen Palov listened to the words of the Elder and finally realized what they really meant. It wasn't dangerous anymore to go alone. Elder love. Ending 40. How romantic. 2 months later. Even the Elder was too hot for Queen Palov. Right after dumping our hero, he left with the shopkeeper. Queen Palov found himself once again alone in his little house. This one starts by gathering the shield, as well as the lava trinket down in the Zhu volcano off to the right here. With both the trinket and the shield, we can't quite make this jump. Instead, moving into this little nook, we can lower an extra platform for ourselves, through which we can hop to this little ladder type thing and make our way across. Dropping down past the abandoned bridge, across the magma lake, again through the ventilation system into the dragon's lair. We will face off against the dragon yet again with the shield and the lava trinket. Disgusting creature was immune to all damage from the dragon, but not the pain of being continuously attacked. His body barely resisted, but his mind eventually collapsed. Post-traumatic stress disorder. Ending 41. 3 months later. The guard found disgusting creature wandering with an empty look in his eyes and put him in his bed. His mind was completely broken, but his body was still in need of adventure. Make sure to go in light and not bring any items with you for this one. We will deftly climb our way up and over the mountain, leading out onto the dark cliff. We're going to want to gently lower our way down. Once we reach the bottom and head out across, you can actually jump over to the unlowered bridge. Heading up the bridge and over will take us to the top of the dark hall. There's a relatively long climb up the dark wall. Right here we can find another cannon. I'm visiting the shopkeepers to pick up our cannonball order. Aim this cannon at the kingdom to shoot as soon as I get back. The Dark Lord's orders. Taking this cannon launches you across the stratosphere, landing you back in the farmlands. We continue out and over. When going across the rooftop and the tower bridge, you can access a little dark air duct. What's the heroic noise on the ceiling? You can actually hop across to the side here and find a sign, the dark ventilation system, because even the Dark Lord needs proper ventilation in his fortress. And then you can drop down into the princess's chambers, looking for an unnecessarily heroic way of reaching the princess. Disgusting creature crawled through the air duct, a section collapsed, and he crashed right on top of her, killing her instantly. Sneaky bastard. Ending number 42. 4 days later. There were more princesses to rescue and 0 witnesses about what happened up there, so let's forget about that little incident and go get some adventure. We first want to come up and acquire Mr. Hugs. Head back to grab the shovel, heading through the ventilation system so we can sneak up behind the dragon. We can give him a big old floppy hug. The dragon was clearly in need of some affection, and Disgusting Creature's hug was right on time. They instantly became BFFs, playing together and eating violent heroes every day. Dinner for 2. Ending number 43. 3 weeks later. Last night's dinner at Dragon's was amazing, but the princess was still in danger. Hurry up, Disgusting Creature. I really would like to stop being referred to in that way. I had a name at one point. After a gearless journey up the mountain, and gently lowering ourselves down the cliff, we again enter the sealed chamber, now with a bunch of blood at the bottom of it. If you flick the right-hand lever, it will drop on your head. The dark stone influenced her man enough to push the wrong lever, turning his body into a perfectly flat mat. Bad leverage. Ending 44. 4 months later, after Hermaninoff somehow recovered, he decided to ignore the voices in his head, stop making extreme decisions, and instead aim for the middle ground approach. Again having us play as the disgusting creature afterwards. I've often lowered myself gently from this cliff. You can actually just allow yourself to drop all the way past everything. There's no scripted fall damage. You might miss a hint along the way, but you will land safely at the bottom. Even then, you can simply jump your way back up across these walls and make your way over to the area with the hint anyways. Heading up the bridge and over up the dark wall. We continue out and over, across the dark rooftop and the tower bridge, further and further. This one takes quite a while to reach. Reaching the far right side of the dark rooftop, we can drop our way down from the side and gain access to the princess's room. Through the door to the side is her actual bedroom, and even further is the prison with the princess herself. Immediately, we need to start making our way out of here. Sigh, let's get out of here. But why not quickly stop? What kind of reward would disgusting creature consider worth surviving countless dangers and enemies? That's right, a quickie with the princess. Disgusting creature quickly left, just saying, "Well, excuse me, princess." Ending number 45. That same day, disgusting creature woke up and realized he left his clothes behind after his encounter with the princess. Maybe he should cover himself with something so he doesn't hurt our sensibilities. You wake up naked, but you also have a wardrobe. At which point you can choose to play as any character you've unlocked so far. Moving past Ascension, past the risky cliff, climbing as high as we can to the macro mountain. There is no fall damage in the game, except if you jump off of an entire mountain. Aiming to clear any and all ledges, allowing yourself to continually fall. Tinku was disappointed to find nothing at the mountain, so he rushed on the way back, jumping off the cliff. Only a brutal impact with the ground would eventually calm him down. Extreme sports! Ending number 46. 8 months later, Tinku woke up with a terrible pain in his back, but his adventurous spirit demanded more adventure. Stupid adventurous spirit. And after this one, we play as the busted up guy in bandages. If perhaps you've made a mistake, you can go to exit and it will drop down the Harakiri option. Tinku was clueless. He just wanted some new ending, and not being able to find it made him feel empty from the inside. So he decided to put himself out of his misery using his sword. Harakiri, ending number 47. 3 months later, Tinku saw his whole life pass by in the form of a picture gallery. But wait, he wasn't dead? Just dying for more adventure. Start by grabbing the chicken. We can then load ourselves up into the cannon at the shop. Heading out towards the pit. If we jump to the bottom, we can use the floating of the chicken to make our way across down into the panic room. There are several buttons around the room that need to be used to move grates out of the way. I had to add this whole self-destruct mechanism to the fortress in order to obtain my villain degree. Having a big button that blows up your home is not very helpful, so please, don't even come close to it. The Dark Lord. The button that provides the ability to climb out of the panic room also opens up the ability to hit the big red button. Obviously, Disgusting Creature didn't know how to read. He just saw that big red button and pushed it. The fortress collapsed right over him, trapping the princess inside and leaving the Dark Lord somewhere else. Disgusting Creature's last words were, "It's my first day," which I like to think is a reference to The Simpsons. Might just be kind of like a generic thing, but ending number 48. 2 years later. The hero job so popular these days, many streamers decide to jump into the adventure, even with the constant jokes and trolling of their followers. It's quite easy to just sit there and laugh while the disgusting creature does all the work. Grab the Sword of Legend. If we head back to the shopkeepers, you can actually kill him again, this time allowing you to gain the shotgun. Taking the cannon quickly back over to the dark area. Swim our way across, through to the dark moat, over to the dark pit. I guess it's just the pit. Everything else is dark. We'll ride the elevator up. Allow ourselves to be dropped into the pit of spawning minions. You can ride it out for a little while on top of one of these little platforms, allowing plenty of these little guys to build up. At which point, you can start laying waste with the destructive capabilities of your wonderful shotgun. I'd recommend being careful on this one. If you get overly excited blasting your way through these minions, you might miss some of the ones that are being dropped on your head. I certainly was a little overly confident on my first attempt. After killing what I believe is literally 100 of them, the floor beneath you will collapse. Hermaninoff found so much pleasure in killing hundreds of weak minions, he forgot about the princess, the kingdom, and everything else. Now he just wanted to hear that squishy sound. And to be the last man standing. Victory Royale, ending 49. 4 months later. Eventually, Hermaninoff decimated the minion population, so he had to find new hobbies. How about rescuing the princess for once? After elevator-ing our way up towards the princess, up across the tower bridge. Help, I'm not feeling well. We have the spooky version of the princess waiting to jump scare us. As that grate slowly lifts, another opportunity presents itself. We can now jump up, out and over the dark prison. Help! I'm totally not a fake princess. Press that non-fake button to open my non-fake cell. I really hope you're not one of those heroes who treat women like objects. Which, I'm kind of curious, maybe she only says that if you have had ending 45 already? At which point, you can grab the princess. But now we still have to make it out of here. So, if you start fleeing, let's get out of here. We can head up and over. The anvil has crashed through. We can jump down to the bridge into a open princess room. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, they built this special passage for me in case of fire. You found it anyway, so I guess it's not a big deal. Running out across the little passage through the elevator that was now built for us down the dark wall. Look at that big tough guy down there in his huge blue armor. I bet he's overcompensating for something. This being the first time we've actually seen the Dark Lord up close, we can challenge him to a mighty duel. Ash knew he'd only have a 0.01% chance of winning this combat, but the voices of his imaginary friends resonated with him, filling him with courage. Maybe just a little more courage could have kept him from being split in half. Pwned! Ending number 50. Poor princess, soaked in the blood of her savior. Quote, savior. 3 months later. 546 stitches later, Ash was in one piece and once again ready for adventure. There you have it, guys, the next batch of 25 possible endings in Reventure. I'm trying to keep things as succinct as I can. The endings do kind of get increasingly complicated. There's still simple ones sprinkled in, but they do start to get pretty long and outlandish, so I'm hoping I can trim it down to something reasonable. Thank you guys so much for watching. For that reason, it might be a slightly longer wait for parts 3 and 4 than it was between 1 and 2. We'll see how that goes. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you again soon.